kids start to really kind of go down this path and you don't know what to do, you don't know what to think. You're struggling with different things. Maybe there's temptation that's coming at you like it's never come at you before. And you're a good guy or you're a good woman and you love God, but you don't know what to do with it, and it's overwhelming you. And whenever you just try to take all that stuff in on your own and try to figure it out with logic, and you put in all the right ingredients, like I'm going to go to church, I'm going to have Christian friends, I'm going to listen to Christian music, all those kinds of things, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. You have to let God put this filter in. This filter kind of filters out, and it says, here's what you do with the stuff. Here's the stuff that you want to let in. Here's the stuff you don't want in. You can develop a filter. You don't just hear things and say, here's what I think. You begin to hear things and say, Lord, what does this mean? You do like David. Whenever you get some kind of bad news, you don't just go, oh no, what do? What do I do? You say, you know what? I just need to talk to God. I need to step back. Lord, I don't know what to do with this. I don't know what it means. I need you to show me. I need your filter. I need your filter. Sunglasses are a filter. Some things are just too bright. And to look into them, anybody ever tried to go skiing without sunglasses on a sunny day? You get something called snowblind. It burns your eyes. There's this thing called filters. And God begins to place these filters. These filters don't let some things in, and these filters make it to where you're careful what comes out. You're careful what you say when you're angry, because there's a filter now. You're careful what you do with that coworker when they made you angry. You're just careful. It's called a filter. And when you have the coffee maker, and you have the coffee filter, now God can begin to pour into you the stuff He has for you. And now, He can begin to take the stuff that He has for you, and He can begin to do a work in you. And sometimes we feel like this coffee container right here. Sometimes we just feel empty. We just feel empty. Like there's nothing there. Did you know that I can make all the coffee here I wanted to, but if the container for the coffee sits over there, there'll never be any coffee in you. You understand that? God can give you His Word. He can give you a teacher every single week. He can give you a teacher every single Wednesday night. He can give you every kind of way to give His Word imaginable. You can take the best Christian speakers and teachers in the world, download them on an iPod, buy their CD, get their DVD. You can go to, there's Christian bookstores everywhere. You can go in there, and anything you're going through, there's a book on that topic. Anything you're going through is somebody that's went through it before, that God allowed to go through it, just so they could help you when you go through it. Did you know that? But if we don't plug in, if we don't get to where He can pour into us, we're just this empty vessel. Now we're a vessel, and we're His vessel. But to the extent that we stay under Him, that we stay in Him, that's the extent that we're effective. You understand that? Now, let me just show you another way that this works. Let's keep reading. Verse 14. And this has to do with the church. It says, now the body is not made up of one part, but many. If the foot should say, because I'm not a hand, I don't belong to the body, it would not for that reason cease to be a part of the body. You can't say, well, if I can't do that, then I'm not really a part of this church. You are a part of this church. Whether you're this church or other church, you're part of His body. And if the ear should say, because I'm not an eye, I don't belong to the body, it would not for that reason cease to be part of the body. If the whole body were an eye, where would the sense of hearing be? If the whole body were an ear, where would the sense of smell be? But in fact, God has arranged the parts of the body, every one of them, just as He wanted them to be. If they were all one part, where would the body be? As it is, there are many parts, but one body. Now, you get the implication here? And here's how important this is. If you have begun to attend Lincoln Avenue Baptist Church, for example, okay, because God's wanting to show you something. He wants you to plant somewhere. If that's here, great. If He wants you to plant somewhere else, God bless you. That's what you should do. But when God shows you to plant here or any place, it's because you're a part of the body that He's putting together. You understand that? And so God is over, He is the body of Christ. We are all part of His body. But as He plants churches, and as He does work in churches, He'll bring a set of eyes. He'll say, this church needs some smell, aroma. This church, somebody can smell. This church needs feet that just run with the good news. This church needs hands that will serve. This church needs a heart. It doesn't just need a bunch of workers. It needs a heart. There's complicated things with the business and finances on it. This church needs brain. You see the different parts? You see how it works? And listen to me. It's this important to the extent that you figure out what part you are and participate or don't. That determines the growth in the life of the church. If God sends you here and you are that hard part, but you say, you know what, I'm too busy, I'm not going to do it. Well, I'll go every now and then, but I'm not going to be that there. That church goes without a heart. He brought the heart, but He can't make the heart do what it's supposed to do. Same thing with the feet, same thing with the hands, same thing, all those things. You understand that? Now let's keep reading. The eye cannot say to the hand, I don't know you. And the head cannot say to the feet, I don't need you. On the contrary, those parts of the body that seem to be weaker are indispensable. God hates it. I talked about this a little bit last week. He hates it when we look at somebody else and see them as less than ourselves. Hates it. It's called disunity. It's called conceit. And whenever we go into any place and begin to judge people because of the way they dress, because of the way they look, because of the job that they have maybe, because maybe they don't have as much money or this person has more money, I tell you what, I know more people in churches that judge people that have money than I do people that have money that judge people that don't. You know that? Let someone walk in that it's obvious that they have good means and that kind of thing, and you immediately have some people just go, oh, look at that. And we should all wear a dress like that. And judgment sets in. Conceit. You don't have to be rich to be conceited. I know a lot of really poor people that are very conceited. We begin to judge and we begin to compare. And God says we're not supposed to compare. We're not supposed to say this one's big, this one's large, this one's small, this one's tight, this one's smart, this one isn't. We're supposed to say, man, we need every... You okay? Oh, that's for coffee. Could we begin to say... What we do, guys, what God's ideal is this, is like, praise God. They're not like me. We don't even let them eat. And when someone new comes in, they start to become of it, it should be this anticipation. What's God brought to us? What's God brought to us? We shouldn't see people as threats. We shouldn't see, that's not the way a body's supposed to work. You understand that? Now, verse 22, on the contrary, those parts of the body that seem to be weaker are indispensable. And the parts that we think are less honorable, we treat with special honor. And the parts that are unpresentable are treated with special modesty, while our presentable parts need no special treatment. But God has combined the members of the body and has given greater honor to the parts that lacked it, so that there should be what? No division in the body. No division in the body. Look at that part where it says that God has combined the members, where it says, verse 24, While our presentable parts need no special treatment, but God has combined the members of the body. Go back up to verse 23. And the parts that we think are less honorable, we treat with special honor. And the parts that are unpresentable are treated with special modesty. I asked you a question earlier. I asked you if you can remember the name of somebody that's critical to your faith. Critical. They're one of the reasons you're here today. I had a Sunday school teacher. He was a police officer. And he would teach his Bible lesson every week, but we couldn't wait for him to tell us stories about being a cop. And he would tell us the stories, and we go out here, and we go out there. And it wasn't just so he could tell police stories. So he could talk about how when he was in these situations where normally there would be fear, he didn't have to be afraid. Because God was with him. And he was a rock. He was like a hero to me. And I got out of bed every single Sunday morning to get to Sunday school so I could be in my classes with Mr. Fever. I'll never forget that. And you know what else? There was John Glass and Mike Metro. John, he worked for a phone company. He goes out and puts stuff up on the phone lines, on the poles. He climbs poles, and that's what he does for a living. To this day, that's what he does. The other guy was Mike Metro, and he had just become a fireman. And these two guys would come down every single Wednesday night, and we had something called RAs and GAs back in those days. It was like a kids club, a boys kids club, and a girls kids club. I was in the RAs. That was for the boys. And I don't remember a whole lot about what they taught us. But every week, he'd make sure we got done a little bit early. And we'd go out in that yard we had, and they'd play football with us every single week. I love those guys. Love those guys. Mike's now one of the top captains in the LA Fire Department. He's on. You'll see him sometimes on TV and everything, and he's a part of every major thing that you see go on. But he was just this beginning fireman. John was just a phone company guy that climbed up on a tree. But in God's economy, there's no such thing as just a. You see it? And then there's my friend Tino. Tino is one of the greatest ministers and pastors I've ever known in my life. He's in church every time the doors are open. Every time the doors are open. He works in the children's ministry. Whatever their theme is, that's how Tino's dressed. All the kids love Tino. Anytime there's work to be done at the church, Tino's there. Anytime somebody's sick needs to be visited, Tino's there. Tino's an ink salesman. That's what he does. That's how he makes his living. But I know of no pastor that does more than Tino. What about you guys? Any names come to mind? Anybody? Yes.
There was one friend of Shelley's named Connie that was responsible for me getting saved when the pharmacy. She was adamant to my wife that I needed to go. And as God would have it, I went, and that's where I got saved.
See? So God gets the credit. But it's not the great speakers that we get the credit. They could have spoke the greatest words ever known to mankind. But if he wasn't there, what would it have mattered for him? You see it? Who else? Yes?
Todd Starks taught me that God isn't kidding. He's not out there to get me.
And that was huge.
He's waiting